Right, okay, so quickly. I'm going to have my breakfast and then I've got to finish this banana cake now that's nice and cold. BananaStarmer. You're not going to believe what that moron just did. Oh, no, the Russians, another oil tanker in our waters. We had to jump into action and now Russia's threatening to bomb us. Oh no. The media are just spreading so much lies and propaganda, it's not funny. But let's cut through to the truth. And I've let the ICC know as well. They've taken another oil tanker just like they did the Bella One. Now remember the whole Bella One thing when that took off, right? When that all happened last January. When I did the investigation to defend Russia, I said they've been preparing for this since I think I found out the British Navy and that had been preparing for this since February 2023, I believe. It's all there on my videos and that. Because the Scottish were complaining about all the training that was going on up there and they couldn't understand why. And when I investigated that training, I'm pretty sure I was able to link it back to 2023, which means they had been planning to do this for a while. But they needed to see how the training was going to go, so they did the whole Venezuela thing. The Venezuela thing was a distraction for Epstein, and now this is a distraction for Epstein. And I just said to the King and the ICC, you have to look at the timing of all of this, because Russia has every right to move their oil tankers through international waters. They're not doing anything wrong. And then Starmer comes along and just takes one of the oil tankers, which is piracy. They're stealing, but they're lying about it. But I've been able to prove that they were, I said back then, and I'll say it now, they were doing that whole Venezuela thing was a public exercise to distract from Epstein, because remember, he was being forced to release Epstein stuff, and then the whole Venezuela thing kicked off with the help of Britain and NATO nations. And I said, this is them preparing to do something so that they can enter the war with Iran and use Iran as a backdoor to start a war with Russia. That's what I said. And now that they've reached a peace deal with Iran, they're trying to start the war with Russia, like I said. Everything I said Starmer was up to, everything I said the British was up to, I was 100% spot on. They've committed provocation of war, false pretenses, and piracy. They've stolen oil because Trump, with that whole training exercise in Venezuela, showed Starmer how to do it, how to steal oil. So I was right about everything. That whole Venezuela thing was a training exercise between Britain and America, because remember, it always comes back to Britain and America, mate. Every investigation I've done now since Queen Elizabeth I, it always involves Britain and America. With France, Germany, Poland, and Ukraine. And they were the countries getting involved in the whole Venezuela thing as well. So I was right about everything. And that whole Venezuela thing, and because, like I said, that the court has ordered the release of 300 Epstein file photos and videos and stuff, right? So all hell is breaking loose at the White House in regards to Epstein. The whole Epstein thing is starting to blow up in people's faces. And remember, the Queen Mother said to Charles, be careful where you tread because of the landmines. The news is trying to say that Putin's going to trigger mines. He's going to set off mines in the water if they keep stealing their stuff, because it's piracy. Starmer and Trump are committing piracy. They're stealing people's oil under false pretenses in order to start, continue and start wars. And I said that America and Britain were using the war in Iran that they started, that they got involved in, that they've been helping in. Trust me, like I said, I hear the planes, as a back door to get in to start this war with Russia, because Trump and Starmer cannot have the Epstein files released. And every time there's an Epstein drop, they pull shit like this. And so, they can't have an election during a war. Keir Starmer is desperately trying to start a war with Russia so that he can keep his job and keep his name out of the Epstein files. Now, with 600 Republicans just recently, over the last few hours, been named in the files since the new Epstein file explosion landmine has gone off and mud sticks, it's only a matter of time before the stuff about Starmer and Miliband and Gordon Brown and all the Labour MPs and that comes out as well. And that's what Trump and Starmer have been trying to avoid this whole time. They thought between the two of them getting and being brought into power together, preparing for it this whole time, that they'd be able to stop the Epstein's files and protect their reputations, but they can't. Because finally, the courts are starting to do the right thing. Finally, the victims are speaking out, and there's already talk of British Prime Ministers being involved. Little known British Prime Ministers, I think the quote was. So British Prime Ministers that weren't as famous as other ones. Everyone knows Tony Blair. Not too many people are familiar with Keir Starmer, that sort of thing. His name doesn't pull as much weight in history as Tony Blair, because everybody knows Tony Blair for his involvement in Iraq and 9/11 and 7/7 and all that. So, long story short, the whole Venezuela Bella thing last January just gone, was a training exercise which they'd been training for. I'm pretty sure I was able to take it back to either 22 or 23. I'm pretty sure it was 2023. They had been planning it for that whole time, because remember, they always knew that Starmer and Trump were going to get into power because that was the plan. So they got the British Air Force and Navy in that training to prepare for it, so that when Trump got into power and started threatening Venezuela, they'd be ready to go. And then Venezuela was like the training exercise to see if they could pull it off. And then they've just repeated the exact same thing with Russia again in Russian waters in order to agent provocateur, provocation. But the way Putin has dealt with it has been absolutely supreme. He's not taken the bait, but the media are trying to make out like he's threatening to bomb Britain and blow everything up. And remember, the Queen Mother said, be careful where you tread, Charles, because the landmines are going off and the mud's going to stick. And now the landmines are going off and the mud is sticking to hundreds of Republicans and Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. Like, the mud is sticking, the landmines, the truth bombs are starting to go off. And now they're in British waters. And it's not looking good for Starmer. And the king didn't listen, so the mud's going to stick. His Prime Minister is a pirate who is stealing, theft of oil because Daddy Trump told him how to do it. But it's all done to try and provoke Russia so that they can start a war and have everybody focusing on that instead of the files that are dropping in America that is currently taking Trump down. And I said you have to look at the timing of it. I was right. I was right then, and I was right now. The second Trump got into office, because Starmer had already been in office 6 months, 7 months. The second Trump got into office, I think it was January, February of last year, is when Trump and Starmer started making moves towards the Venezuela thing. But I was able to prove, because of the Scottish people complaining, that they'd been training for it since 2023. And now the media are trying to cover it all up and saying that, Russia's threatening this and Russia's threatening that, just like he did last time. He's brought in that under 16 ban too, but it doesn't bother me because my son's 16 on Wednesday. Everything to distract the fact that he's about to get taken down with Donald Trump. Because hundreds of Republicans have now been thrown under the bus. Democrats will be next, and then the microscope is going to then come to the EU, to Europe. And Starmer's one of the traffickers, not just one of the ones who hurts the children. He actually supplies the children and ships the children, which is why he doesn't want Russia or anyone else near British waters, because they'll find evidence of, like DP World and Evergreen Line and that, shipping these kids around, because last January, when they did the whole Venezuela Bella One thing, there were children on that ship that they took. Starmer and Trump took 170 kids off the shipping containers that were being rescued, and they vanished into thin air. And I have proof, and other people have proof, because they were stupid enough to take a photo of themselves in the shipping containers, trying to make out like it was just like a hell, but like you can clearly see they're inside a shipping container. And they thought that it would make them look like heroes because they were rescuing children. But the story got completely killed once I blew the whistle and said they're inside shipping containers. And the only way they'd be inside those shipping containers is if they were taking the children. Because Donald Trump would be the first person to say, we rescue children, especially off a Russian shipping container. We rescued children from Russia trafficking kids, but they didn't. Everything went very quiet after I said, so they were rescuing children and Trump and Starmer stole them. And I keep saying, where are the kids, Starmer? So now my blood on his hands. Remember my dream? Blood on his hands. It's all starting to make perfect sense. When Starmer was backed into the corner in the backyard, and he knew he was done for, and he put his head down with his hands behind his back, and he started walking, and he fell into the fence with the Ukraine and Russia flag. And when the fence collapsed, he fell into a black hole. That's about to happen, because he's just been caught pirating, thieving in international waters, something that doesn't belong to him, just so that he can provoke a reaction from Russia. And I am so proud of Vladimir Putin, because he's dealt with this beautifully. And if he's listening, or anyone who has contact with him is listening, just remember what the Queen Mother said. You are protected. Everything they throw at you, Archimedes' bow, whatever they throw at you is coming back on them. So remember, they've tried to throw this, international waters, scary, Russia, boo. It's now come back on them. I've put the arrow in the bow. I've pulled it back. I've lined it up, and I've shot that arrow straight back at them, because I documented the whole thing. Remember what they were doing in Venezuela in January, last January. I've been able to prove that it's just history repeating itself. I've reflected it all back on them and taken it to the ICC, who are watching. So just Don't give them the reaction they want, Pootie. Hold your head up high and let them make fools of themselves, because we now have the attention of the international criminal courts. We now have the attention of the world, and everything they are doing is slowly starting to unravel. And this last move was a stupid move, because then it's proved everything I said about the Venezuela Bella One thing 100% correct. When I said they were going to use the Iran thing to be the back door for Russia. And all the countries that are guilty are all the countries that have something to hide, are all the countries helping Trump behind closed doors. France, Germany, Poland, the United Kingdom, Japan. And now, see, Starmer's just signed that big deal with Japan. That's because they all have to look after each other, because they're all in it together. Japan have a lot of secrets in regards to Epstein and why they need to, and because they owe so much money from the occupation of Japan after World War II. Remember, I was talking about Japan the other day. So what's happened is the rains have come, and now the worms have popped up. And now you know who all the worms are. France, Germany, Japan. Shame for Japan, eh? Like, really shameful behaviour for Japan. I'm embarrassed for them. Like, I expected better. But they've all got to look after each other now, because nobody else will deal with them, because everybody knows what they've been involved in regards to the Epstein war in Iran. And it's only a matter of time before the truth comes out about the reason why they want a war with Russia and Ukraine for the Slavic genocide. So now Japan is going to go down in history with France and Germany and Poland and Ukraine and the United Kingdom and America for being involved in the genocide of the Slavs. Other than West Bank and Palestine and all that sort of thing. So they've outed themselves. The rains came and they outed themselves. So this is a good thing, because then what's happened is it's proving everything I said right. It's proving everything I said they were wanting to do, planning to do, putting in motion, and the reasons why, 100% spot on. And now that I've taken that to the ICC, it's only a matter of time. They are terrorists. They're war criminals. Keir Starmer and Donald Trump and, von der Leyen and the Japanese Prime Minister, look, they're war criminals. And they're international terrorists. Technically, Trump and Starmer are domestic terrorists as well. Macron and Zelensky, it's domestic terrorism and international terrorism under international law. Under the United Nations definition, they're committing acts of domestic and international terrorism and piracy. And in certain countries, that's punishable by death. So this whole thing that happened with the oil tanker and Starmer is nothing new, because they planned it all along, because they know the routes that these oil tankers take. And Russia have done nothing wrong being there. They've done nothing wrong. So it's piracy. And they thought they were going to get away with it, but they forgot that I had already witnessed everything and documented it and sent it all to the ICC. Because they're idiots, because Archimedes' bow. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And the laws of induction. I changed the course of history by messing with the components in the circuit. So just hang in there, Mr. President. You just hold your head up high and you keep following God's voice, because they're not going to get away with it. I promise you they're not going to get away with it. They've been caught out. Everything has been fully documented by myself, who works on behalf of the Lord. And it will catch up to them, I promise you. You just keep doing what you're doing and focusing on protecting the Slavs. You just keep focusing on that and let God deal with Starmer and the rest of them. Don't react. Do not bite the apple, Snow White. Don't bite the apple. You focus on getting your little satellites up to get rid of Musk's Starlink ones over your part of the world, and then maybe one day in the future I can use said satellites to use my streaming service and my space program. You never know. And I need you to know as well, the only reason why I'm not focusing on getting to Russia is because you're still dealing with Trump and Musk. But with God getting them out of the way, you know, who knows? Who knows? But I got to go where God's sending me. And it looks like he's sending me to America. It looks like they might need me more. But I don't know. The path I take is up to him. So don't react. Let the law deal with them. And I promise you with all my heart, hand to God, the law will deal with them. The law will catch up to them. Just like with Trump and Musk and that, the law's catching up to them. It's going to... Remember I said that God needed to line Trump and Starmer and the EU up so that when Trump fell, they all fell together. You're starting to see that now. It's starting to be pulled down from the ethers and land into reality. But it's only just started having the thread pulled. You haven't witnessed the fallout yet, but it is coming, I promise. The cracks have already started appearing in the masonry. Remember your dream? Remember my dream that I had the other day about the first time when I saw the movie being made and that little boy was being chased down the thing and he opened the window and the moth came and the wind blew and then it blew. He said, "You have no power over me." And they all flung and landed into the wall and then the masonry fell on them, right? That's happening right now, buddy. I'm talking to you like you're like 5. You're 20 years older than me, Poppet. But that's starting to happen now. They have no power over you, remember that. They have no legal power over anything they're doing to you. They don't have the power over you. And that's what you need to understand. Once you realise that, you stand up, you be strong. You use your finger and you fight back. Or that's probably what you're doing now. You have no power over me. You don't have the right to take my oil tankers. I'm getting the law involved. And then they get blown back, smashed into the wall. And you're starting to see the first chips of the masonry falling now. But it's only a matter of time before the whole thing comes crashing down on them and crushes them. We're at the point between the cracks appearing in the crumbles of the masonry and crushing them. We're in between that point and that point, okay? So just hang in there because the masonry is just about to land on them because they didn't listen. They tried to sacrifice you. That's what my dream was. You know, I said I have to, the first sign dream. I was seeing what was coming. Because remember in that dream, they sacrificed the boy. They had him chained up and everything and they were getting ready to sacrifice him. But he managed to break free because they forgot that he had superpowers. They didn't know what his superpowers were. They thought his magic was in his wand. They didn't realise that his magic was in him. And he broke free and he starts running away. And then remember he falls and his wand breaks. And he opens the window using his finger. And the moth comes and saves him. Was it the moth that told him the power is in you, not your finger? Yeah, he uses the wand to open the window in the dream. Remember, yeah. He uses the wand to open the window because he wants to escape out the window. And the moth comes and says, the power is in you, not the wand. Because the wand breaks. And so then he stands up And he throws his hand, you have no power over me. And they go, boom, all of them go flying back. And remember I said the woman in the gorgeous robe dressy thing looked like von der Leyen. And they all went flying back and smashed into the back of the wall so hard that it opened up an opening in the castle. And you could see the outside. And then that's when the masonry started cracking and chipping and it all just came down on them and crushed them. That's everything that's happening right now. So just remember, my love, they have no power over you. God is on it. God had already set it all up. They thought they were playing chess, but they were playing snakes and ladders. God was playing chess, and I had already set all the players up in all my dreams and in my investigations from the minute Starmer and Trump got into power. Everything I said, everything I've dreamed, everything I saw, everything I predicted is all going according to plan. It's going perfectly according to plan. So have faith, okay, Mr. President? Have faith. God's on it. You can see from the dreams and from my investigations and everything that I've said, I've been spot on about everything, so have faith in this. If I've been spot on about everything, I'm not going to be wrong about this. You are going to get justice. The full force of the law is going to come down on Starmer and Trump and the EU and NATO and that for what they've done, because I documented it all in advance for you. Archimedes' bow. Thank you very much, because I know my physics. Okay, so just hold your head up high and keep walking and don't take the bait. Learn from me. Learn from everything they threw at me. Don't take the bait. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. If you keep giving them the reaction they want, it's going to pull and drag everything down and stretch everything out and make it last longer than it should. But if you don't give them the reaction they want and you just keep focused, you become like a laser beam that's moving at the speed of light and you start smashing those barriers like a hot knife through butter. And then you end up on the right path. And God needs you on the right path now because he's getting ready to hand you the New Jerusalem. So focus on God. Focus on the light. Be the light. I told you what to do in my last few videos. I'm making it like I'm assuming he's listening. But if anyone out there who has contact with him, show him those last few videos and that. You know, the Einstein and Faraday one and the one that I made yesterday. I've showed him what to do and I've shown him the results of what's going to happen when he does it in those dreams, like the blood on his hands and the first sign one with the little boy. So I'm guessing the little boy in the dream was Vladimir Putin, treating him like a child. Sit down and be quiet. We'll let you have what we say you can have. And God's like, yeah, no, he's exalted. You're beneath Vladimir Putin. You're not above him, saith the Lord. And I'm going to show you because the Queen Mum said so. Just remember who you've got protecting you. The British royals, ancestors, deceased ancestors are the ones protecting you. And the Queen Mother stepped in just in time, eh? Because look what Starmer was planning to do the second they knew you were about to go floating by. And that's why the Queen Mother said to Charles, be careful where you tread. And then the landmines went off. Well, the landmines are starting to go off now. The mines are starting to go off now and the mud's sticking to hundreds of Republicans. And it's going to start trickling down to Starmer and that. So just, okay, so you know the score, you know the situation. So you just hold your head up high and don't take the bait. Just focus on the future. Focus on doing the right thing. Don't sin in retribution for the provocation. Focus on God, focus on saving the Slavs, focus on saving and liberating Ukraine from the genocide, focus on protecting Russia, focus on all of that, and I promise you this is going to get dealt with faster than you will ever know, and it will end with Starmer in handcuffs. I promise you. Okay, sweetheart? Right, so I'm going to go and have my toast now and ice my banana cake. I'll speak to you later. Mwah.